Yes, maybe just to build on that, I can help us understand that idea better. We can read from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 1088, which says, Christ is always present in his church, especially in the liturgical celebrations. He is present in the sacrifice of the Mass, not only in the person of the minister, but especially in the Eucharistic species. That's one point. We'll come back to it. Continuing the quote, by his power, he is present in the sacraments so that when anybody baptizes, it is really Christ himself who baptizes. He is present in his word, since it is he himself who speaks when the Holy Scriptures are read in the church. Lastly, he is present when the church prays and sings, for he has promised, where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. So, and the end of quote. So essentially, this brings us to a very important idea when it comes to the sacraments, precisely like you've said, that Christ is always present in the sacraments. It is, of course, easiest to see him present, to see his presence in the Eucharist, because here we're talking about physical presence. He's really, truly, and fully there in the Eucharist, in body and blood, okay? And he himself is the priest who works the miracle. So when we have a priest in front of us on the altar, and we come to that moment of consecration, and he begins to say the words of Christ at the Last Supper, in actual fact, I mean, there are many theological ways of going to get complicated, but in other words, the person saying those words is Christ. He's acting in through the priest, making that miracle happen. And one of what I would say the most beautiful and yet strangest parts of our faith, the Eucharistic faith, is, yes, Christ is the priest, but he is also the sacrament appearing there on the altar, and is also, in a sense, the altar where the sacrifice is taking place in the first place. But that is the Eucharist. But in all the other sacraments, here this quote has already mentioned the idea of baptism. So when we baptize, we are only able to baptize because Christ gave us that power, okay? So I already mentioned that quote, go baptize people in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. But in each of the other sacraments, the way it works, a good way to remember it is the idea of Christ being a mediator. So Christ stands between us and God, okay? So when we speak about true God and true man, we're speaking about Christ. So Christ being God and yet being man, he's able to represent both sides perfectly. He is the ultimate priest. So whenever any sacrament is happening, nothing fruitful, nothing effective will happen if Christ himself is not involved. He's the one who gives the grace and who's the one who sends the Holy Spirit.